Folks, it is time for speculation. It's funny how when OTAs start and we see clips of players running routes, unguarded routes, by the way, and just signs of what we could potentially expect from some of these new additions, all of these hot takes start to arise, right? And I feel like it's myself. I've seen a couple of other personalities hype up the possibility of Elijah Moore and what he could potentially bring to this roster off of a very affordable contract, might I say. Um, I think starting off, he's going to be the one player that I attach to that I genuinely believe that he is going to revive his career with the Buffalo Bills. And it has everything to do with the circumstances that this young man has had to face from the time he was drafted and right up until the time that he called One Bills Drive his home. And I got to tell you, it was wild with some of the things that I was able to pull up from this guy. And the biggest piece with Elijah Moore, we often said that he had a carousel of bums as his QB, throwing him the football, right? And even if some of these quarterbacks were, I suppose, decent at times, Guy never had a full season of him being able to play with one exclusive quarterback for the entirety of it, right? And I just posted a TikTok video that was sort of like a shorter version of what today's topic was going to be on. However, I do want to read out these names because I think it really paints a picture for each and every single one of us here. All right. Starting off, he was drafted from the New York Jets or to the New York Jets, and his quarterbacks were the following. Okay. Zach Wilson, Mike White, Joe Flacco, and Josh Johnson. All four of those quarterbacks, right, were done within the first year. So a lack of consistency at the quarterback position. In fact, I'm going to have to do a bit deeper research, but if I remember correctly, based off of what I'm seeing right here, I don't believe that he had a season where he was just catching passes from one quarterback, not finding that excess of chemistry between the two. Because when he was with the Cleveland Browns, he had Deshaun Watson, he had Dorian Thompson, he had PJ Walker, and then Joe Flacco, right when it comes into it. And I think that we all remember what his campaign was like over in 2024, even despite all of that, right? Whether or not that we want to point at certain names of people that were throwing him the football, I don't think that any of us were wowed by the quarterback talent that I just ended up listing off. Not a single one of us. But another big facet to this is that dude never had a chance to like get familiar with how a certain quarterback played and being able to implement his skill set into said offense. But I think it all changes here. I genuinely do, folks. And I hate to get all excited. And so about clips of him running routes, unguarded routes, not facing any sort of DB. But dude, he is so smooth. He is so fast. Look, it's hard for me to marry a particular opinion, but I'm just going to go on ahead and say it right now. I think that this guy is easily going to crack 750 yards on the outside, right? His average depth of target is going to be 19 to 20 yards. He's going to be and so a wide receiver that lines up on the outside that absolutely burns people as well within that vertical separation part of the game. So high on what Elijah Moore can potentially bring to this offense. So, guys, on today's episode, I wanted to discuss not only Elijah Moore, but at the exact same time, some other players that we are optimistic are going to step up in 2025. And whether or not that it's knee-jerk reactions based off of reports we're getting out of the very first day of shorts and T-shirts practice, or whether or not it's just something that you genuinely believe within your heart, I want to talk about players that all of you guys are feeling very confident in going into the season. Right now, how I typically structure these shows is that I start off with my monologue, which could be anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes. But then afterwards, I end up transitioning exclusively over to my live chat audience, where I take questions from the chat. And in order for me to easily decipher between questions and statements that you would like me to react to, please label them accordingly. Please begin each question with a Q dash and a statement with an S dash. So that way I can pick out all of those entries and make sure that I give a quality experience to anybody watching the replay of this video and or listening on Apple Podcasts. So start funneling in those questions and statements. Let's get into it. First, I need to give a giant shout out to a couple of housekeeping announcements. All right, folks. As you know, Roundtable Sports is coming to Buffalo, New York, folks. All right. We ended up purchasing about 30 plus tickets to the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge, where you will be able to watch the game with myself, TD Finstalk, Colby, Richie, Rico, and Z-Bot from Buffalo Fanatics, and also get exclusive access to our pregame show the night before over at Southern Tier Brewery, where not only it's a meet and greet, but it's also an opportunity where you get to witness a live show that we will be conducting at the brewery. Now, I got to tell you what, we announced this package just last week. I want to say it was at the beginning of last week. And look at this. We have 2 tickets left. That is all. We have 2 tickets left. So say, for example, you're serious and you want to be a part of this. You want to, go to Highmark Stadium for one last shebang. Highly recommend you go on ahead and you check out this package. Only 2 left, guys. Now, say, for example, that you already have tickets to that game. It's Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, week 3. Have no fear. We are still in conversations with the tailgate company where we will be selling separately an opportunity to meet us at a tailgate, right? From what I understand, this tailgate has free food, has an open bar, so it certainly has a bunch of benefits on top of being able to hang out with all the guys. Highly recommend you come and you show a little bit of love and make it happen, all right? Guys, listen, I'd also give a giant shout out to William Matar. All right, say, for example, you're ever hurt in a car, you better call William Matar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would never wish a car accident on my worst enemy, but say it ever does happen, have to make sure you have the right representation and look no further than my boy, William Matar. All right, folks, let's go ahead and hop into the Q&A segment. Let's rock it, man. We have Khalil Shakir in the chat saying, good morning, Khalil Shakir. Hope all is well. Hope you are absolutely rocking training camp right now. I think that we have a great sense of what we can expect from this offense locking in. Guys, again, say, for example, you have a question, please label it with a Q dash and or an S dash. Let's go on ahead and start locking in some of these questions. We have Charles has come in saying, I would be happy if he gets over 400 yards. He's referring to Elijah Moore. And I got to tell you what, man. So I think that's a bit conservative. And I do understand, right? Because like this offense, it's hard for me to pick one receiver that could like really eclipse 1,000, especially because our identity is to make sure that we spread the ball around as much as humanly possible. And us not having a true #1 target actually benefits an offense because #1, it's very difficult to plan against a team like that. How many occasions did we have last year where like Ty Johnson or RB3 was the leading receiver, or Curtis Samuel, who was on ice all year, just decided to completely blow up and have over a 100-yard game right when it came into the playoffs against the Broncos last year. That is something, folks, that benefits the Buffalo Bills by not having that sense of predictability. But I think Elijah Moore brings quite a bit to the table, especially for that explosive play type style player. So I'm very excited about that. So 400 yards is certainly interesting, but when I look at what he's been able to do with a lack, right, of quality quarterback play, his stats are still great. His worst season was with the Jets in 2022, where he just wasn't implemented at all, and he had 446 sort of touchdowns, right? His rookie year, he had 538. His first year in Cleveland, he had 640, and his second year in Cleveland, he had 538. His best season when it came into touchdowns and actually scoring was his rookie campaign with 5. And in 2023, his best season with 640 was largely when Joe Flacco was out there. He took over the reins as the Cleveland Browns quarterback, saved their season, got blown out by the Texans right in the playoffs that same year. But I think with all the context surrounding this 25-year-old's career, this is the perfect storm where I'm hoping, and so I think that he could easily surpass about 600 yards, 700 yards perhaps would be ideal. We have Flip the Yazin is coming. What's up, Flip? How you doing, my friend? I think I'm excited for Ty Johnson because his confidence just keeps growing. I mean, look, we ended up in signing him to a 2-year extension, and he's a quality third down back, man. You know, it's a giant shout out right to our offensive line, right? because while I'm not trying to take away anything from our running back squad, and so I'm really not, I have always been of the belief that, and so unless you have like a Saquon Barkley or you have a Christian McCaffrey, your run game is only as good as your offensive line. Like a good offensive line can make or break a solid sort of running back. An elite running back can make any offensive line look good, but say that you have any running back slightly below the play level of the Saquon Barkleys of the world, they can really mimic and make it look like they are absolute dogs. So I have all the confidence in the world that whatever running back dominates touches this year is going to do well because our run blocking scheme is just that good. And I think an interesting like tidbit of what we need to look for this season is to ensure that we have yet another year where we miraculously ended up staying healthy on that front, because health in the trenches is a massive contributor to success. We have DTN coming in saying Elijah Moore's production could depend on how much of the running game Joe Brady could call up. So I'll tell you what. So I do think Elijah Moore, he provides a wrinkle to this offense that we haven't had, right? Like we never had a speedster on the outside. We wanted it to be Curtis Samuel last year, but as we remember, he was battling through a turf toe injury, and he really didn't get going until toward the back half of the season. But yeah, listen, he provides a very interesting wrinkle. And while I think that he's going to be a situational guy when we really need an explosive play, I'm completely fine with it. But that production statistically will skyrocket based off of the type of opportunities that he will be given. We have DeMarcus coming in and asking, am I worried about James Cook? So not particularly. So like I've said a few episodes in a row now, so I think that he's not going to be a show at any OTA, right? He'll more than likely skip mandatory minicamp, and so to make a statement. But at the end of the day, I feel like he has way too much to lose and to run his holdout into the regular season, right? Because number one, like this is his audition. Like this is his audition for either the Buffalo Bills next offseason and or whatever team wants to sign him next year, right? Say that he removes himself a year away from football, he's not doing himself any favors. And I think there's so many horror stories of the Le'Veon Bells of the world that, sort of held out. I think there's a lot of like massive storylines that like most young players are sort of looking at and witnessing and not wanting to take those same steps. And plus, like I said, so when it comes down into it, like he is due $5 million this year, and he only makes that $5 million if he plays the full season, right? Like he needs to be on the roster and he needs to be active for each and every single game in order to make that 5 million. So him sitting out a full year and not getting paid a dime, and him like losing out right on an opportunity to audition for whatever team wants to give him a contract next year, say it's the Bills or say it's somebody else, I just don't think it would make sense. But then again, crazier things have happened. We have William Smith. I just wanted to know if our defense is really good and special teams better than last year. William, so I'll tell you what, man, like especially when you get into OTAs, it's very hard for me to be able to like make conclusions based off of the defense and special teams particularly, because right during OTAs, you can really only get good signs from skill position players, right? Like wide receivers and DBs, maybe. Same thing with QBs, etc. Like we really don't know a lot until pads go on, and we're not going to know that until training camp. Like right on paper, and so our special teams should be good, especially since we got rid of our special teams coach. We have a brand new guy who was very highly respected, was very oftentimes a top 5 special teams coordinator through the past couple of years, which is ideal. He did take a year off, so maybe he'll knock some rust off. But I'm very interested to see how these changes sort of go. Um, so as far as defense, while I did notice a couple of plays here and there from the defensive side of the ball, which is encouraging, we're going to have to hope that some of our DBs can make a statement today. And then as far as the trenches and defensive line and pressure, um, I feel like we're not going to have any answers until training camp when pads come on. You know, we have Joseph Holland coming in with a statement. What's up, Joseph? Hope all is well. In the best overall wide receiver room we have had in a while, it's possible he falls out of favor once again. We have Joseph Holland. So are you suggesting that he gets cut from the team or he just lacks in targets, right? It's going to be tough to predict who leads the team as far as receiving yards, right? And what I think is even more interesting is that yesterday, the highlight play of the practice was Dalton Kincaid with a one-handed grab. Now, see, I do feel like people like rush to conclusions when it comes into young players. Like, say, for example, they have one bad year or they have a solid rookie season, but like a downturn sophomore slump. Way too many people end up sort of pinning that player right as a bust, right? They're like, oh, yeah, he sucks. He's not going to improve. I'm very optimistic that Dalton Kincaid is also going to be right in that competition as far as receiving yards, as far as being a threat right in the pass game. Um, I don't know, man. It's funny because you know why? Like in the NFL, you need to adapt. It's adapt or die, right? And while I normally am a huge advocate of don't fix what's not broken, I do think that Joe Brady is going to have to add a couple of different wrinkles right into this offense because let's be honest with ourselves, right? Yes, the Bills got better this offseason, but like right on paper, so did many of our rivals, right? So we're going to have to figure it out. Charles has come in. How do you feel about year 3 boom for Kincaid? Charles, you read my mind, man. You read my mind when we were just discussing about Kincaid. I'm still very optimistic, Charles. Like I said, I like to look at the context of last season. And so the context of last season was this, like with Josh Allen, like him and Dalton Kincaid had incredible chemistry issues. Like when it came to off target throws, Kincaid had the most of those, right? Like when Josh Allen was targeting, um, so the young tight end, and so Dalton, his off target percentage was through the roof. He was the number one pass catcher on this squad that did not get very accurate passes, right? And that's on the opposite end rate of the coin where you saw Khalil Shakir get like, I think 90% of the passes toward Shakir were right on the money and right on target. And then he was also playing with a hurt knee from the Colts game on through the playoffs. So I think that he's going to be good. I just really hope that he put on some weight this year. Um, and he could just help himself out and so be healthy, right? Because as we know, the best ability is availability. Big Daddy D, good morning, Dan. Happy to hear from you. Let's see what these backs can do. Go Bills. I mean, yeah, dude, like when it comes into the running backs right now, like we're only going to be able to see them make plays in the pass game. Like, sure, like they might do like a couple of run plays here and there, but it's going to be pretty difficult to draw any sort of conclusion until pads come on, right? We have Keith Lewis. Moore has a chance to do some great things on this team. Hopefully, he stretches the field and his speed could be key to unlocking more in the offense. I mean, listen, like that's all we needed was just somebody that could go out there and run a 4-3, right? Somebody for defenses to have an answer for. So we're going to have to see. Dwight, how many games do you think Bosa plays this year? Well, I mean, ideally, and so I would like the full season, but I feel like that's unrealistic, especially since he pulled a calf muscle right before OTAs even began, right? So I'd be happy with 12. And so I'd be happy with 12, but I do need one of the other edge rushers to step up. So whether or not that's Landon Jackson, he just needs to like have that step in development, like almost immediately. It's Greg Rousseau. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we even end up lining Michael Hoyt out at the edge rusher and he like balls out like once he's done with the suspension. I don't know. Number one Connecticut Bills fan has come in at Brandon Beane's end of season press conference. He was asked, what does he think the number one need for the team is? And he responded, team speed. And do you think he has met that challenge? Well, so I'll tell you what, I think that he definitely put it at a high priority, right? First sign had to be drafting Max Harrison, very fast player, right? The fastest player in the draft class, 4.2840. And so I feel like you need to find a defensive player that can match fire with fire when you're going up against wide receivers that burn you vertically, right? And that run all over the field. And Max Harrison certainly demonstrated that in college. Can he be that guy for us? That's a different question. And then as far as speed, right? Like we end up bringing in Elijah Moore, very fast player. right? Like 4.28, 4.3. Like we bargain bin shopped, right? Like we are money balling a quality wide receiver number one with four different guys, right? Like really focusing on specific traits attached to each and every single receiver that can all but mimic it, right? And crazy enough story, we did figure out that Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore played high school football together. What a small world, right? Like that's a damn, yeah, like that's a damn wild situation. We have Kyle. And imagine relying on Aaron Rodgers and the guy who doesn't even show up to OTAs to meet his new team and teammates. Unreal. We have Kyle. We have Kyle in here, man. Imagine relying on Aaron Rodgers and the guy doesn't even show up to OTAs to meet his new team and teammates. Unreal. Is there a story that I'm missing, or are we discussing are we discussing Aaron Rodgers? But hey, man, listen, I can empathize with you. I promise you that. Pez, and the back issues with Walker, and do you think he gets any solid playing time this season? Pez, um, so it's obviously a huge prediction here, but for me, so I think that Walker is going to be a developmental guy. Sure, like he may step in for a couple of snaps here and there, but he's going to be at like on like a rotational basis, and by rotation, he might be out there for 15% of the snaps at the beginning. And so I don't see him getting a lot of considerable playing time unless there's some sort of injury to Daquan Jones. But listen, I'd be happy to be wrong, but that's kind of where my head is at for the beginning. Were there any players you know that were not very impressive in OTAs? So I'll tell you what, man, first session of OTAs, I feel like it was all but positive remarks. I haven't seen anybody struggle. Uh, it's a per se. However, it is a long, long process. So I will go on ahead and keep you guys up to date because day two will be happening here within the next couple of hours. And keep in mind, I will be live a little later this afternoon to break down everything for you as well. So it is very important that you end up smashing that like button, subscribing, and turning on bell notifications so you never miss an opportunity to come live, man. We have King Jamie the Mad. Has there ever been a time when you get two league teams doing the practice together thing where nobody got into a fight? So I'm sure there's probably a couple of examples of joint practices, Jamie, where so there wasn't a fight, but it's probably a rarity. So we'll see what's going on. We'll see what's going on. Oh my God, dude. We got our boy Jesse in here. Is there any chance of a Razul Douglas reunion? And so at this point, he is so cheap and much needed depth, I would think. So I look at our cornerback room, right? And so I look at our starters, or at least the perceived starters, right? And so you have Benford, you have Taron Johnson, and then you would think um, that Max Harrison would be on the opposite side of Benford. And then right behind that, you have the slot corner right out of Ohio State. For some reason, his name is escaping me. He will go on ahead and back up Taron, and so I like quite a bit. And then you have Dane Jackson and Trey White, who have familiarity with McDermott's like system. And then you have Dorian Strong too. So I think it's going to be between Dane Jackson or Dorian Strong for that final spot. So right at DB, it just depends. I don't think that Razul would come back, not unless there's like some sort of crazy injury that happens in OTAs and or in training camp. So that's kind of my thought there. I'm surprised Razul hasn't been picked up yet, though. And so a rough season for the dude. I'm not going to lie. Good morning, Dan. Not surprised by Bosa being injured already. I honestly never liked the signing. Hope he proves me wrong and stays healthy later. Like, look, and so I'm sure that they could rush and they could have rushed him back, like for mandatory minicamp, perhaps. But oftentimes, a calf injury is a prerequisite to an Achilles injury, and we don't want to mess around, especially with Joey Bosa's history. Like, we don't want to mess around. So just give him some time to heal. Like, he's a vet, right? Like, he's more than likely going to be able to pick up the playbook fine and do his thing here and there, but he's gone. Bella Rose, hello, Dan. What's up, Bella Rose? Hope all is well. Kelvin, by bringing in Douglas, he will stunt the growth of the rookies. Not sure I'd be about that. Interesting. Seeing how fast Maxwell is, I would like to see him going out for passes. We have Joseph, man. He's trying to make him a Travis Hunter already, huh? We have Carl Tillman. Relax about James Cook, folks. Voluntary. In 2022, Poyer skipped the Bills' voluntary OTAs. And then on June And so then on the 14th, Bills have full attendance, including Poyer at mandatory minicamp. So I think people are, and so I feel like people are freaking out about this. So because of the contract issue with him, right? So it's pretty clear that he's upset about the whole situation, right? Like he's certainly not as outspoken as Stephon Diggs was when he was upset with the team for a complete opposite reason, right? But so I do feel like it's different because while I know that it's voluntary, so I think that if you look at the situation and you're just like, hey, like he's not showing up to training camp just because it's voluntary, I would probably look at it and say that you think that this has nothing to do with him not having a contract. I think you're just being a little naive, right? Um, but again, and so I think that he has a lot to lose this season for extending like his holdout. My take is that he does skip out on mandatory minicamp, but he will ultimately show up to training camp. Whether or not that's us giving him a contract, or whether or not that he just bites the bullet and takes this opportunity and just goes on ahead and takes this opportunity for some other reason. Question: and do you think Cook will tank the season like Diggs did with the drop in Kansas City? No, no, man, not at all. He has a lot to lose, right? So this season he needs to perform, especially if he doesn't get a contract, right? He's 20, he's 26, right? Here, let me double check. I think James Cook age. He's 25. His birthday is September 25th. So he's going to be 26 this year, right? So say that he tanks, then what team is going to sign a 27-year-old running back next year when he just has a shit season, especially when it comes into something that could be easily suggested that he ended up throwing a couple of plays here and there. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Say that he doesn't get his contract. I think that just gives him enough momentum and so enough of motivation so to go out there and have an even better season next year. That's just kind of my thought. Let's get the likes up. I'm aiming for the hundo per stream. Look at that, man. Look at that. 199 of you in here already. I appreciate you there. 119 on YouTube, 74 on X, 5 on Facebook, and 1 on Twitch. Look at that, baby. I'm a Twitch star. I am a Twitch star. It's beautiful. Guys, with each and every single show, the goal is 100 like buttons hit. It helps out the channel tremendously. It's free. It takes less than a second. Make it happen. Make it happen. All right, do we have Leo, the Bills fan? You got anything about the safeties? So I have heard reports that Cole Bishop was looking good yesterday, as far as it appears that he has grown over the offseason. However, and so again, it's still the first day. Like some players might flash here and there, but I still remain optimistic that Cole can live up to expectations. Kelvin Shepard, how did Sanders look? Him and Dion are massive humans. Between him and Jackson, not sure who I'm more excited to see. How did Sanders look? Him and Dion are massive humans. Between him and Jackson, not sure who I'm more excited to see. So I guess TJ Sanders looked good in drills. And so, but again, right? Like right now, like we're talking about shorts and t-shirts. And there's really not a lot that you can gather from with anybody in the trenches, like defensive line and offensive line. Like you really can't see how their production is coming until pads come on. But from what I understand, Sanders has been looking good. Keith, if Cook doesn't want that money, I will take it. Keith, hey, look at that, man. Hey, man, listen. And so as long as you can go out there and just give us 400 yards behind the line of scrimmage, let's make it happen. Hey, Dan, and do you think Dalvin is advising James to stay home? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. His brother has certainly been vocal about James Cook's contract situation, more so than James. But so I do feel like this is probably James's decision, right? But I mean, who knows? Tag Cook twice and have him for 3 years and then move on. Tag him twice. Calvin's really trying to get under his skin real fast. Like button activated. Today is absolutely free to hit the like button. We have made it more fun for you. Absolutely, guys. Listen, it is now free to hit the like button, to go out ahead and make it happen. It normally costs $100 to hit the like button, but now it's free. Look at that. That's a hell of a deal. And I know that you guys are not upset about all of it, man. Let's make it happen. We have some volunteering stuff. Oh, man. All right, guys. Again, a very short episode. And because, like I said, I'm going to be live a bit later today, recapping everything that happened during Buffalo Bills OTAs day 2. So please do me a favor, smash that like button, tell a friend, turn on bell notifications so you don't miss the episode later this afternoon. And I got to tell you guys again, all right? Say, for example, that you want to take advantage of the Roundtable Sports crew coming to Buffalo for week 3, Bills versus Dolphins. All right, guys? Have tickets right to the Caesar Sportsbook Lounge at Highmark Stadium. Sit with myself, Richie, TD, Colby, Z-Bot, and Rico, plus a pregame show at Southern Tier Brewery the night before. Go on ahead and get your tickets, guys. Only 2 more. And there are only 2 tickets left right here. So if you are interested, just go on ahead and lock it in, folks, because we are indeed coming. And so I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you later this afternoon as we recap everything that happened on day 2 of OTAs. See you soon.